Welcome to the Hire Yourself podcast. If you're ready to take control of your destiny, build wealth, and live life on your own terms, this is the place for you. Each week, Nat and I will talk about business, franchising, and personal growth to help make you more successful. Good morning, Nat.
Good morning, Pete.
How are you?
I am doing awesome. How are you doing today?
Oh, I am pumped up.
Really? I'm so surprised, as always.
You're surprised. You are.
Yeah.
I'm pumped up because this weekend we got some old friends coming to visit us. So I always get excited to reconnect with friends. And so I got a great weekend. We're going to watch a little football and talk about old stories and things like that.
Nice. Old injuries?
Well,
war wounds?
Or probably more just stupid things I did in my youth, right? So
that's another podcast.
I got a whole bunch of those, but yeah, we don't need to share those. So, but today we're also during our podcast gonna reconnect with an old friend, and so we are, and I'm very pleased to welcome Heather McPherson with us today, an old friend in franchising. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you, my friend. I am so stoked.
It is always awesome to have a legend on our podcast. And you are a legend in franchising, over 20 years of experience.
Yeah, that's a lot of numbers, isn't it?
And Nat and I have been involved in franchise now for a long time, but you're one of the first people that was ever involved with franchise, the Franchise Consulting Group.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that is my family. That is my family forever. Amen.
That is your tribe, right? So
Exactly.
That's how you got started in franchising. And the leaders of franchise, Jeff Elgin, certainly kind of saw something into you, and Jeff Seaver.
Yeah.
Basically, they saw something in you, and that kind of started you down a path. And so let's talk a little bit about your journey in franchising. So I think you kind of started out with Brand Fund. Is that right? You got kind of involved in there?
Well, it kind of goes a little further back. I mean, I hate to admit it, but my goodness, I don't know. I think we all kind of flop into franchising one way or another, right?
Sure.
Well, I happened to be in the medical field at the time, and I had a patient, Dr. W. Barry Fowler of the famous Sylvan Learning Centers. You familiar with them?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, he came up to me and he says, look, I love how you're managing all these surgeons. Would you come over here to Sylvan Learning Centers and help me start off an offshoot of our brand? And I'm like, okay. Yeah. Sounds good. But yeah, that goes back almost too many years than I want to talk about. But yeah, after that, I also got involved. So I started in franchise development, right? You guys are familiar with Tutor Doctor, remember?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I literally brought them, they were early on from Toronto into the US, and that was a total blast.
Yeah.
And then that's how I met my mentors, my family, Elgin and Sieber, that got me into the whole franchise family early stages.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I met those guys.
Yeah. All right. So that's how you got into it. And then you kind of had a journey after that as you connected with your mentors. So you did a little bit with Fran Fund. How long were you with Fran Fund?
Yeah, that was 11-year run. I was the first person they brought in. It was a blast. Wow.
I'm seeing a trend here. You're kind of the first person to take things places. Okay, so got that, understand it. And then you've kind of been with some other brands over the years then.
Yeah, I think most recently, you guys are familiar with the beauty brand I was with, Decalash.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that was a fun run. I was with those guys for a little over almost 5 years. And super cool international brand. Always people keeping their eyes on that. And love the beauty space. It's, but half the time it's not about the widget, right? It's about
absolutely. And now you are part of BrandONE, which is an amazing organization. Tell me a little bit about BrandONE. They're great people there.
Oh, they're my family too. I've known everybody there for like 10 to 20 years. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Are you having a blast though?
I am having so much fun. I found my forever home. As long as I get to work with franchise, I'm a happy girl.
Yeah. Okay, so BrandONE, a bunch of industry experts, been around forever, develop a franchise sales organization. And probably one of the best in the country. Certainly, just just great people, and certainly you're one of those great people that are part of the team. So they have multiple different brands, and I believe you're working on one of the brands for BrandONE. Which brand are you working with?
Yeah, this one is the newest, well, one of our newest brands. We rolled it out in August. It's called 1-800 Striper.
Striper. Okay, I'm tough with spelling, so I was thinking of something else when you said that.
It gets a lot of attention depending on how you can spell. You should see our trucks.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, yeah. Hopefully they're covered up. But anyways, from the standpoint of 1-800 Striper, what do they do?
Well, they are the masters of all things striping parking lots and garages and anything that needs a stripe or a symbol. This is what they do. It's their one and only thing that they do. So they specialize it. And they've been doing it for 23 years, believe it or not.
23 years. And how long have they been franchising? So they probably kind of built the prototype, built the business. And so how long have they been franchising?
Well, they started working on the concept of franchising 5 years ago. Okay. So this is their first year, and we're literally bringing their very first franchisee in a couple of weeks over in Long Island, and brought to us by our franchise family. Yes.
Excellent. All right. So we talk about this as they developed the model. They just now really have got serious about getting into franchising. They got the model set. You're about ready to kind of launch the first franchisee. And from the business standpoint, this does striping. And when I think of striping, parking lots or the new Amazon plant, they're putting stripes, safety stripes inside. I mean, it's anything you can think of. But that's a need. That's not a want. That's a business that, whether we have a recession or not a recession, bottom line is people need that.
Yeah. You could drive around your neighborhood and they can't tell you they don't need it. Just look out the window.
Yeah.
Really? It's right there. Yeah. It's very much need-based. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, in having your parking lot look nice is basically the welcome mat to your customers. So if you let your parking lot go and the stripes are faded and stuff like that, that's not a good representation of your business. So you guys help people make sure that their business looks like, it's top notch.
Yeah. And welcoming, right? You're going to come in, you're going to spend time, you're going to spend money. If it all has that presentation of pride of business ownership.
Yeah. And from the standpoint is, don't a lot of companies do striping? Is there a lot of competition?
And that's what I thought too. But it's kind of like, so paving, sealing companies will also say they do striping. But the truth of the matter is they vend that out. So one of our low-hanging fruit is relationships with paving and sealing companies already.
So you're not competing with them. So they actually like you guys and leverage you.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's normally, we call it a chuck and a truck, but they can't rely on them. And this is the reliable, integrity, full faith-based business that will be there when you need us.
Yeah, sure. So when we talk about the business, what kind of franchisee are you looking for?
That's excellent. This is such a simple business. So the franchise business owner typically has a good relationship building skills because they're out there building the relationships with other businesses, with schools, with hospitals, and getting those contracts. So a little bit of sales, but it's really just that transparency that we have there. And then being able to manage a small little team. It's very small.
I don't have to have sales experience though. Like if I want to run it where it's semi-absentee, I want to keep my corporate job. I want to start the business. I want to put a manager in place, have a salesperson from a standpoint, a small crew. I can do that with 1-800 Striper. Is that correct?
Right. You're going to have a lead guy, and that lead guy can manage the jobs and manage multiple trucks. So it's typically a truck plus 2 workers.
Okay. So I'm not buying myself a job. I don't, from that standpoint, I'm looking to build a larger business, an organization from that standpoint. So I don't have to be the one out there striping. I don't have to be the one knocking on doors if I don't want to. I could be building a big business from that standpoint. Okay.
Yep. I've got people just like that right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it sounds so cool. And then from a standpoint of, as you think about it, and you've been around franchising for a very long time, and I always like to ask the question, what characteristics do you think are important for somebody to be a successful business owner?
I love that. And I think it's pretty straightforward. There's really kind of 3 basics. You are owning your own business. We all know the franchise business model works. So you join a system, follow it, right? Number 1, follow it.
Yeah.
Believe in the leadership because you bought into their vision and where they're heading. And then be 100% responsible for your own business. Take full accountability for your choices, because you don't learn anything when you're busy blaming somebody else, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And entrepreneurs solve problems, and
Yes.
that's what they do. Yeah,
Oh my
absolutely.
gosh.
And it's amazing how many smart people invest in franchises and they think they're smarter than the system. Right? They don't follow the system. And I had one guy. Yeah, I had a guy that once basically ran a large company, and he left. He wanted to escape the corporate world, and he invested in a window washing franchise. Right, and he starts out and he's terrible. So the franchisor calls him and said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Hey, listen, I know business. I've run very large companies." and the franchisor goes, "Yeah, we know you got all this business acumen. Just follow the system and you'll be successful." And ultimately, he started following the system, and now he's in the top quartile of franchisees. Right,
Exactly.
and it's
Turn
you're
to
right, right. So bring your experience, your leadership skills, leverage a franchise model, go be successful. All right.
Yeah.
So I always like to learn from people. And so one question I've got for you is, what's the best piece of advice somebody's ever given you?
Okay. All right. There's, we all have lots of mentors and people and that are really great for us. And I have one mentor of mine who would challenge me every time I saw him for years. He would say, "Heather, you don't believe in yourself as much as I do. You keep growing, you keep learning, you'll get there." And I'd go, "Okay." And I'd walk away. I'd see him twice a year. And for years, he said the same thing. It drove me out of my mind, but it forced me to keep working. And he finally said to me, "Heather, come here over a glass of Chardonnay. I'm so happy that you see the Heather I've known for all these years. Now don't stop."
All right, that's good. And do you follow any thought leaders? Is there anybody you kind of follow?
I do. I have, spiritual human interaction relationship builders. The one that I'm currently really kind of into is Phil Jones. Have you heard of him?
I have not.
Okay, well, he kind of brings to light how important words are. And I'm a big words person, right? We all are in what we do. And, finding the right words to help impact others in order to help them get out of their way.
Yeah.
He's a writer. He's trained more than 2 million people. He's got a book on the lost art of communication called Exactly What to Say. And I really like it.
I like that. All right, I'm going to go get that book. Is there any other book that is just kind of your favorite? If you had to give somebody a book recommendation, do you have a favorite book?
I have a few, but funny, very real Mel Robbins. I love her. She cracks me up. She wrote this book called The 5-Second Rule. If you haven't read it, I just love how the mind works because, it's like a battlefield between these two things half the time. And you as coaches and teachers and parents and friends and mentors, we all have people that have pushed us to just be better than our excuses and bigger than our fears. And that's what this is all about. Because if you don't make a movement in 5 seconds, the brain will literally kill your idea. It's weird.
Yeah, I listened to her speak, and she's an incredible presenter or speaker from the standpoint, and actually listened to her book on Audible. So I agree with you 100%. And it takes discipline.
Oh, man.
To apply what she said. And I agree. You've got to kind of have movement within 5 seconds, or you're not going, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, she had an incredible story. That's a great book. Great recommendation, by the way. So we're super excited to see what you do with 1-800-Striper. It sounds like it's an amazing concept. It's definitely an early adopter. Yes. Emerging brand.
Yes.
But it sounds like they've got a good leadership team. They've kind of put this thing together for 23 years. They've connected with the right organization, BrandONE, to help them find good franchisees. And that's what you're going to do. Yeah,
exactly. And I'm really excited about this opportunity because it's, we're new. We've got open turf everywhere. But I have to tell you, one of the things that we look for is, when we're looking for brands we like and leadership that we love and, that respect piece. But when we saw their item 19, we flipped out. I'm telling you, the margins are crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? And it's just striping. I always tell people sometimes it's not sexy what they do, but it's sexy what it becomes.
Exactly.
And I meant no pun intended because it's 1-800-Striper, by the way. So I just want to be clear there. So, Well, Heather, it is always a pleasure to reconnect with you. I'm super excited to watch you as you grow 1-800-Striper and go find some great franchisees and build out an amazing brand. So thank you so much for your time today. And it was just wonderful to connect with you.
Oh, I just my pleasure. I'm smiling from ear to ear because you are my friends and I love this.
Thanks for listening to the Hire Yourself podcast. For more resources, check out our website at hireyourself.com. And remember to subscribe to this podcast to receive each episode. Please leave us a rating, and we'd love to hear your feedback or suggestions for topics.